All right, so next up we have defining the terms. Oh man, we got to define these terms so that we know what we're talking about because we don't want to get confused and it can get confusing quick. We don't like that. So let's get into it. So the first term we're going to define is rhythm. Okay, now you could say, I got rhythm. There are different rhythms. There's all kinds of, definitions, but for our purposes, what we're talking about is our rhythm here is we're basing again everything off of 4/4. Okay, so rhythm in our definition is just a series, a steady repeated series of beats or pulses. Okay, it ain't rocket science. It just means that it's not haphazard, right? It's not all over the place. There is a definite series of evenly spaced pulses. Okay, that is our rhythm. All right, so next we have what is a beat? Well, it just so happens that each of these pulses, right, in our rhythm here, are evenly spaced, repeating pulses. They are going to be referred to from now on as a beat. All right, give me a beat. Huh. All right, so I will give you 4 beats, as a matter of fact. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a beat, that is rhythm. Now, let's get into a time signature, and the time signature we're going to use is 4/4, all right? Now, what the heck does all that mean? Well, here's how we decipher what a time signature is. We have 2 numbers right here. If you guys can follow my mouse in the middle. We have 2 numbers, okay? The top number, 4 here, is going to tell us how many beats are in a measure. Okay, easy enough. And you can see we have some other time signatures here, which we'll get into much later, but we have 2/4, or excuse me, 2/2, 2/4, 3/4, etc. So in this instance, we have 2 beats per measure, right? Same thing with here, our top number, 2 beats per measure. And this one, hello, look out, 3 beats per measure, 6, 12, etc. Okay, so 4/4 is 4 beats per measure. All right, now the bottom number right here, this tells us what kind of beat they are, what the time value is, how long they last. All right, the 4 actually means quarter note. Okay, so that means there are 4 beats to the measure, and each of those beats is a quarter note. All right, quadruple time, if you will. Okay. So, like I said, we'll get into some of this other stuff later, but for now, we are basing everything again on our magical 4 on the floor groove, okay? So, look at this. We have 4 beats, and each of these beats is a quarter note, okay? Which, by the way, real quick, this is like standard notation here, and this is more of the rhythmic version. It's still standard notation. I'm just saying it doesn't have a melodic value. It's simply the rhythm. So I put them both together here so you can kind of get the gist. And when you're writing drum music, although it's actually a little bit different in my drum books, but this is the way the Guitar Pro 7 program works. But you have kick and snare written kind of on a traditional looking staff there. So anyway, side rant, but that's basically it. So we know what rhythm is, we know what a beat is, we now know what a time signature is and how it relates to our 4 on the floor super groove. And last but not least, we're going to get into subdivision, because that is how we get all the cool stuff beyond 4 on the floor. So what is a subdivision? Well, let's look here. And just so you know, in this particular lesson, we have PDF downloads. Look at that, a PDF download. Now, this isn't meant to, I don't care if you memorize this thing, not that it's that difficult, but that's not really the point. It's simply for reference, and it shows you the different note values, it shows you the different rest values, and it kind of, in a way, shows you how they overlap. So if you want to print it out or just keep it on your computer, iPad, phone, etc., and just kind of look at it, glance at it for reference from time to time, if you're not sure exactly what I'm talking about. And the more you look at it, you'll eventually get very used to it, and you will not need it any longer, right? You'll be like, half note, I got this. Okay. So let's just go over it real quick. We're not going to be dealing a whole lot with whole notes or half notes. They do exist, we know, and we love them. But we're dealing with quarter notes for the most part because it's how we make our, four on the floor drum groove. Now this is where it gets interesting. Subdivisions. Sorry, Rush reference. So subdivisions here, we have our quarter note, and we are going to subdivide that beat into more notes. So essentially, we have beat number 1, right? And now within beat number 1, instead of just a single note, we want more notes, all right? We can eventually subdivide each beat into many, many, many notes. It gets crazy quick. So let's do this for a second. Let's skip example 4, quarter note triplets, and we're going to skip ahead to example 5, exercise 5. And look right here. This is beat number 1, okay? Beat number 1 is now 2 notes, right? Back in example 3, it was 1 note. Now it is 2, okay? So that's our PDF reference guide. Let's look at it here in our super groove, okay? So again, we have a quarter note. Now, what does it look like when we divide it in 2? Would you look at that? We actually have 8 notes. So this is beat 1. It is no longer 1 note. It is now 2. We subdivided it, and now we have 2 notes where there was once 1. A little repetitive, I know, but I'm just trying to get the point across. Okay, here's where beat number 2 lies, and that's where our snare normally goes. And again, we divided it, we subdivided it, and now we have 2. So on and so forth throughout the measure. Okay, you can keep going. There's triplets. There's 16th notes. Look at this one. This is beat number 1. Originally, we had 1 note. Then we made it 2 notes, and now look at this. We have 4 notes where that 1 beat lies. These are 16th notes, and we're going to get into how you count them and all that good stuff. I'm just trying to explain what subdivision is and how we can get all these amazing rhythms in place of our Ringo Starr 4 on the floor drum beat. Yeah. Okay, so there's one that we skipped, and that is the quarter note triplet. Folks, this one is special handling, and the reason I say that is because it's actually not that difficult to mimic and replicate, but it is tricky to theoretically understand, okay? So we're going to spend a little extra time on that one. So now we have what rhythm is, what a beat is, a time signature, and what a subdivision is, and how we're going to take our humble 4 on the floor groove here, and we're going to subdivide it into an amazing, amazing amount of things. And man, you will impress your friends and family, guaranteed. So we're going to get out of here, but that is basically it. Let's move on, and let's get into the cool stuff, shall we? Yes, we shall.